Hey everyone, I'm Amethescent, and this video is going to be a bit different than what I usually do. It's been a while since I posted a spooky video, and since I'm still working out all the details regarding the series I promised, I thought this would be a good way to bridge the gap. And while I talk, you can enjoy some speed paints of the concept art I've been drawing for the project. So if you weren't already aware, I'm looking to do something related to infection, which is not really that original. In fact, zombies are probably one of the most popular horror tropes out there. So you would think that the idea of zombies and infections would be far overdone. And yet, games like The Last of Us and Resident Evil are still extremely popular to this day. And I personally love the idea of zombies and infection. But to figure out why people like zombies so much, we must first figure out what exactly a zombie is. Usually, when you think of zombies, you probably think of something similar to the Minecraft zombie, or the Plants vs. Zombies zombie. Rotting green skin, lurching walk, moaning sounds, and an appetite for human brains or flesh. However, I can't help but feel that the idea of a zombie goes farther than that. Take the recent hit game, No, I'm Not a Human. If you didn't know, No, I'm Not a Human is a game that takes place in an apocalyptic world where the sun has become so hot that it is no longer safe to go out during the day. Meanwhile, creatures that look exactly like humans, called visitors, roam during the night. These visitors walk around and try to get into your home. The game urges you to invite others in, as being alone has some dire consequences. But game mechanics aside, I want to focus on the visitors themselves. There are two notable things about them. One is that they came out of the ground. The other is that they can be anyone, as in some people may be visitors on your first playthrough, but may not be on your second one. So you have to check the people you let in for telltale signs of a visitor. Even more interestingly, you can check yourself for signs of being a visitor, implying that some visitors may not even be aware that they are visitors. And of course, this also implies some kind of infection, something that can make you into one of them. So are visitors zombies? Well, there's a lot that is unknown about these creatures, so it's hard to say for certain. But if we take the fact that anyone can be a visitor, even those who weren't one before, and the fact that they come out of the ground, it implies some kind of zombie in my eyes. Also, they prey on humans. But visitors don't really fit with the traditional definition of a zombie. And when I asked around for the thoughts of various people, the results were inconclusive. Some answers were as simple as defining a zombie as a reanimated or living corpse. Others were more specific, but to put it simply, it was pretty well divided between two main ideas. One idea being what I previously mentioned with some additions. The other idea has to do with infection. Either the zombie itself is doing the infecting of humans, or the infection is the thing that turns people into zombies. The common denominator of these two ideas tends to be the zombie's inexplicable desire for human flesh, as well as the zombie losing its sense of self, awareness, identity, and ability to act in a rational human way. And then there's the official definition, which is a willless and speechless human, as in voodoo belief and in fictional stories, held to have died and been supernaturally reanimated, from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. This definition is more like the former idea of a reanimated corpse. However, I can't help but feel that this actual definition is a bit lacking by modern standards. In fact, there's no need for feelings because I know it. Based on the opinions I've gathered from zombie fanatics and non-zombie fanatics alike, this definition is severely lacking. But instead of spouting out every single opinion I've gathered, I think I'll just share what I think is a decent bridge between the differing ideas, which also just so happens to be my personal definition of a zombie. A zombie is a person who has come back to life in some way and/or has lost their sense of self. This person can no longer think or act entirely for themselves, and any actions they do take are closer to animalistic than human. This behavior can be driven simply by them being undead, but it can also be driven by something outside of the zombie itself. The most common version of this is an infection, or something that completely takes over and alters the person and their capabilities. If the zombie is simply an undead variant, their sole motivation tends to be to kill and/or consume humans. If the zombie is an infected variant, its motivation can be what was listed prior, but it would mostly be to spread the infection. So now that we know what a zombie is, or at least some ideas of how people interpret zombies, we can now try to figure out why people like zombies so much. Well, my theory is that it has to do with the implications on humanity. Zombies aren't real, as is the case with most horror creatures. But unlike zombies like werewolves and vampires, zombies are often depicted coming in mass. Have you ever heard of a werewolf apocalypse or a vampire apocalypse? And compared to more one-off classic and modern creepypasta and analog horrors, like Slenderman, Siren Head, The Locust, or The Boiled One, zombies are very human. Just compare one to a classic zombie and let me know which one looks more human to you. But why is looking more human and having large numbers so important? Well, we as a species are quite social. The majority of us live in families, in towns or cities, in countries, and on the earth. We actively interact, collaborate, and form relationships with each other. Humans are very social creatures. Even the most introverted of us crave or desire interaction some of the time, and punishments like solitary confinement can be especially bad. So the idea of splitting humanity up can be quite a scary thought. The idea that just anyone you know could become a brainless, flesh-eating monster plays more into the psychological side of things. I mean, just imagine a selfless sacrifice from someone you love to save you, only to see them again later, but no longer themselves. It's heartbreaking. And when something is heartbreaking, it allows for some pretty cool storytelling opportunities. Furthermore, there is the aspect of being around something stronger than humans as a group. As I mentioned earlier, humans are social creatures, and thus we work together to conquer things. So, in a sense, us humans are at the very top of the food chain. But with a lot of zombie or infection stories, zombies have a lot of similar features. They may not typically work together in the same way that we do, but they often come in large groups, and if they're not physically stronger than humans, like in some games, there's still the aspect of infection. If you're bitten by a zombie, you're done for. And with every zombie attack, there is a pretty good chance that the zombie population grows and the human population shrinks. And all that is terrifying, but also intriguing. Zombies, or more specifically, zombie apocalypses, really push humanity to its limits. It puts us in a very tricky situation that is not easily overcome. We are forced to use some of our greatest strengths, our intelligence and endurance, while simultaneously being limited in our other strengths, like large-scale cooperation. I mean, I'm sure the average person is no Einstein by themselves, so even just being by yourself probably negates some of the intelligence that would come much easier with someone else to bounce ideas off of. I personally also find this very intriguing. The idea that a species as strong and intelligent as the human race can be overpowered so easily by something else is pretty awesome. Awesome as in inspiring awe. And I think that's the case with most other horror enthusiasts, as many popular content pieces made for horror feature creatures stronger than humans. But what's more interesting than something that can overpower humanity so easily? Humanity triumphing in spite of it. Even if it's just a few survivors, even if it's just a small win, we love to see it. As someone who loves both consuming and producing stories, I can personally attest to that. So when it comes to why we love zombies so much, I propose that it's a lot more than just the zombies themselves. It's everything that comes with them. Everything that a zombie apocalypse suggests about us humans and our determination. It can reveal the very best and the very worst sides of people. It tugs at our heartstrings, and the characters we love get turned into something else, as other characters lose the ones they care about. And it makes us feel good when even just one person survives or achieves their goal. And that's all I have for you regarding that. It's a different style of video than what I usually do, but it's something I wanted to explore. Most of this was just me talking and sharing my opinions about the matter. It's something I've taken an interest in ever since starting my Creepydrawsta project. This video is technically scripted, just like all my other videos. Yet, it's still more rambly because I didn't really plan it ahead of time. Hopefully, it was still a fun video. And if nothing else, at least you got to see some of the art I've been making for the series. As for updates, I've been pretty busy with a lot of things lately, so I haven't had too much free time to work on my series. Nonetheless, I'd say I've made a lot of progress. I'll show some related screenshots now, but some of them have some pretty big spoilers, so I'll have to blur them. I've done a lot of research on a variety of different things related to the kind of story I want to do. And most of it is related to the lore and important details of the infection. And from that research, I've come up with a lot of ideas for the infection and what exactly causes it. When it comes to crafting a believable world and interesting story, it's imperative that things are fleshed out, and that's part of the reason it's taking so long. But I'd say I'm about 90% done with all the lore related to the infection, and just about ready to actually start plotting. Right now, I just have a few plot ideas floating around in my head, but I'm sure once I actually sit down and start, I'll be able to pull everything together. I can't give an exact time frame for when the first episode will come out, but I can promise that I will continue working on this as much as I can. Nobody wants this series to come out more than I do. And of course, you've already seen a bunch of my concept art and reference art for this project. So regarding the visuals, I've pretty much figured out exactly how I want everything to look. But anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already to see more of my Creepydrawsta content. Take care and farewell.